For regular videos on ancient cultures and forgotten civilizations, please subscribe.
A fascination that many ancient history enthusiasts have is the possible existence of ruined cities under the sea. After all, surely it's possible, considering the rise of sea levels over time and of natural disasters hitting the coasts, that there are ancient settlements lost somewhere in the depths. Not only is that possible, we know it to be true, as there have been several ancient cities found underwater. Maritime archaeology is a well-established and growing field, and the results of this work have revealed astounding discoveries over the years. So in this video, I'm going to share with you a list of ancient cities discovered underwater. Helike, an original member of the Achaean League, and, according to legend, a participant in the Trojan War, Helike was a small but powerful city, mainly due to its religious significance. Their patron god Poseidon, and the city's status as the second most important religious site in Greece, after Delphi, secured their power amongst Greek city-states. Helike was destroyed by the combination of an earthquake and tsunami in the year 373 BCE. As the story goes, the loss of the city to the sea was preceded by many portents, omens, including immense columns of flame seen days before, which were interpreted as a punishment for Helike's refusal to give up their statue, or even a model, of Poseidon to Ionian colonizers in Asia Minor. The real story of Helike's demise was due to soil liquefaction, which took the city below sea level. This, coupled with portions of the coastline falling into the sea, which likely caused a tsunami and flooded the inland lagoon where Helike once sat, and it sent the city into the depths. Throughout the 1800s and 1900s, people searched for the ruins of Helike, not knowing exactly where it was. Finally, in 2001, Greek archaeologist Dora Katsanapoulou and her team discovered the city buried in an ancient lagoon near the village of Rizomylos. Excavations there are continuing. Yunwan, located underneath the 508 feet deep Fushan freshwater lake, also known as the Area of Shining Glass, Yunwan was likely home to the ancient Yunnan civilization. According to documents from the Eastern Han Dynasty, the city slid into the lake during an earthquake, with the buildings being originally constructed after the fall of Yunnan's Bronze Age Dian kingdom. Underneath the lake lies an entire city with 30 buildings and a 69-foot-high pyramid. The earthenware and stone artifacts uncovered at the site cover a 2.5-mile radius and are 1,750 years old. BAIAE. BAIAE was a popular resort for Romans on the northwest shore of the Gulf of Naples, superior to Capri and even Pompeii. Wealthy Romans built villas in BAIAE from 100 BCE to around 500 CE. Much like Ibiza today, BAIAE was desirable for its hedonistic offerings and was often the source of corruption rumors and scandals. Between the 3rd and 5th century, a geologic phenomenon known as negative bradyseism, the slow descent of part of the Earth's surface due to emptying of underground magma chambers, caused BAIAE to begin sinking into the sea. By 800, BAIAE was almost completely submerged. We knew it was there under the waters because sculptures would be found from time to time, but serious archaeological work began in 1941, and that is when the remains of buildings were found. A portion of the ancient city is on dry land today. Dwarka. Flourishing as a port during the Middle Kingdoms of India, Dwarka, also known as Mokshapuri or Dwarkamati, and maybe Baraka according to Greek sources, was the first capital city of Gujarat. In the Mahabharata, it is said the city was founded by Krishna after defeating his uncle Kansa at Mathura. According to the story, this creation, or settlement, came from the reclamation of 37 square miles of land from the sea. The sea seems to have reclaimed ancient Dwarka, however, or at least part of it, as investigations from the Archaeological Survey of India, headed by S.R. Rao, revealed artifacts from the ancient settlement both on and offshore. These finds included submerged ruins. The most likely cause for Dwarka's destruction was coastal erosion. Rao dated this to about 1500 BCE. Mind you, I'm referring to the archaeological work done in the waters near the modern city of Dwarka today. There's another claim that has been made that the ancient city of Dwarka is submerged in the Gulf of Combat. But these claims are based only on some scans that were taken, which kinda sorta look like there could be something man-made down there, but maybe not, and on some geofacts that were dredged up from there. But marine geologists have identified these as natural objects. The underwater remains near modern Dwarka are more likely the ruins of Old Dwarka. See my video on the subject for more details. Olus, an ancient port city on the island of Crete, with ties to Knossos and the island of Rhodes, Olus was a once wealthy town that worshipped Zeus and Asclepius. The earliest evidence of a settlement in Olus dates to the Archaic period, that's around the 8th century BCE, although there are some earlier Minoan tombs in the surrounding area. Most buildings from Olus are attributed to the Hellenistic era, however, which include large public buildings, roads, and a large fortification with a defensive wall and tower. Remains from the Roman era may also exist at Olus, but investigations are ongoing, and the evidence so far is inconclusive. A shift in the land underneath the coastal town due to an earthquake caused its eventual submersion, beginning in the Roman period. Archaeologists found ancient inscriptions connecting the site with Olus. Work there is continuing under an archaeological team from the Effort of Underwater Antiquities and a team of geophysicists from the Satellite Remote Sensing Laboratory of the Institute of Mediterranean Studies. The next three are cities found along the northeastern coast of Africa. Thonis-Heracleion. 20 miles northeast of Alexandria, Egypt, lies Thonis-Heracleion. Originally, the two names were thought to represent different cities, but after the site's discovery in 2000, they were identified as one and the same. Founded around the 8th century BCE, Thonis served as the main port of entry to Egypt and held immense religious importance due to its temple dedicated to Amun and because it was the site for the celebration of the mysteries of Osiris. Herodotus writes that Heracleion was the first place in Egypt that Heracles stepped foot on. Thonis was also said to have been visited by Helen and Paris before the Trojan War, where Paris was either imprisoned or refused access while fleeing from Menelaus. Slow-moving subsidence of the soil under Thonis, coupled with rising sea levels, started the process of submerging the city, which concluded around 800 CE, leaving Thonis completely submerged in the Mediterranean. In 1999, underwater archaeologist Frank Godio and his team, after searching for 5 years, finally located the ruins and began excavation. Many fabulous artifacts have been found there. RHACOTIS. RHACOTIS, Rakedet in ancient Egyptian, developed into what we know today as the site of ancient Alexandria. With the name translating to construct or construction site, the name RHACOTIS may have simply referred to the construction of Alexandria in Egyptian, but some scholars contend that the name's linguistic context renders it much older. Potsherds in RHACOTIS have been dated to 1000 BCE, long before the arrival of Alexander the Great, and high levels of lead, which indicate a trade network that included metal imports from Cyprus and Turkey, have been dated to 3000 BCE. This may mean that RHACOTIS existed prior to the development of Alexandria, a port for ships and a fishing village, although there are some indications that the area was more than just a port during the Old Kingdom of Egypt. Like Thonis, liquefaction of the soil in the area, as well as rising sea levels, eventually submerged RHACOTIS, likely around the same time, circa 800 CE. The site was discovered in 1916, and some initial work was done there in the 1960s, but it was Frank Godio and his team who undertook extensive work there in the 1990s, finding many amazing artifacts, including 12 sphinxes. Apollonia. Many ancient cities were called Apollonia, but we're talking about the one in Cyrenaica, which is now just off the coast of modern-day Libya. The now submerged port city of Apollonia was established around 700 BCE, making it the oldest complete port we know of. Though the early foundation levels of the city are underwater, much of the later Byzantine period buildings sit above sea level, on top of deposits from prior eras of the city. There are still parts of ancient Greek structures that stand above water, however, including a Greek theater that faces the sea, dating to the 3rd century BCE. Like many of the other sites on this list, the portions of Apollonia that are underwater got there from a combination of earthquakes and sea level rise. The location of the city has been known since at least the 1800s, but it was not until the 1950s that any serious work was done there. And in the late 50s, some undergraduates from Cambridge University, who were trained in scuba diving, surveyed a large portion of the city and published maps and diagrams of it. Under Lake Titicaca, currently submerged under over 18 feet of water for over 500 years, is a temple, a small village, and roads that predate the Inca, most likely built by the Tiwanaku people. Okay, maybe it isn't a city, but it was built by the Tiwanaku people. They had a city nearby. The lake is fed by multiple rivers and loses its water due to a process known as evapotranspiration, which is the combination of strong winds and intense sunlight. Lake Titicaca has rather extreme water level fluctuations, with the most extreme recorded at 16.25 feet. Between 1955 and 1966, troughs that archaeologists were inspecting went from completely dry to overfull with water. The same is true for the ridged fields once used for agriculture. Many of them now exist under the water level. The existence of the settlement indicates that the lake had a much lower water level during the times of the Tiwanaku and Paracas cultures. Archaeological excavations have been undertaken under the lake since 2012 by the Free University of Brussels and an international team of archaeological divers led by Christopher Dallaire. Pheia, located roughly 16 feet below the surface of the Mediterranean on the coast of the ancient district of Elis, lies Pheia, an ancient Greek city that participated in the Peloponnesian War. Pheia was conquered by Athens and turned into one of Athens' main shipping headquarters for their military supply line. But around 500 CE, a tectonic shift pushed the city down over 20 feet deep. More tectonic activity sometime later raised the city back up roughly 4 feet, where it was rediscovered by an excavation team in 1911. Further exploration was done there by Nikos Yalouris in 1959, and again in 1973 by the Hellenic Institute of Marine Archaeology. Pavlopetri, the oldest submerged city of the list, the oldest currently known in the world, is Pavlopetri, which dates back 5,000 years. Located on the southern tip of Laconia, this is the area of Greece where Sparta is located, Pavlopetri flourished as a trading port for Cretans and other far-reaching sea traders. Artifacts dating back to the late Neolithic Age, Chalcolithic Age, Bronze Age, and Middle Minoan period have all been found at Pavlopetri. Pavlopetri was lost around 100 BCE when an earthquake pushed the city downwards, followed by a rise in sea level, which fully submerged the city. Remember I told you about the scuba diving undergrads from Cambridge that mapped out ancient Apollonia in the late 1950s? Well, now we're in 1968-69, and they've graduated. One of them, Nicholas Fleming, is heading up an underwater archaeological team at that time, and they are the ones who mapped out Pavlopetri for the first time. Work there resumed between 2009 and 2014 by archaeologists working for the University of Nottingham, the Effort of Underwater Antiquities of the Hellenic Ministry of Culture, and the Hellenic Center for Maritime Research. Now, there are some places that some people have claimed to be the ruins of ancient cities under the water, but which have not held up to scrutiny. I probably should address these because some of you will be wondering about them. The ZAKYNTHOS underwater formation, located roughly 15 feet below the surface of the Mediterranean near the island of Zakynthos, is a bizarre structure representing a disc or donut formed from dolomite. Originally discovered by tourists swimming in the area, researchers from the University of Athens investigated the mineral content of the underwater formation, and they concluded that it was a naturally occurring geological phenomenon which occurs when hydrocarbon seeps are mineralized like a sort of plumbing situation for natural gases. While rare at such a shallow level, the formations are quite common in deeper waters. The CUBAN underwater formation. In 2001, a Canadian company was taking sonar images off the coast of Cuba, and they interpreted some of the images to be of man-made structures that resemble an urban complex, including pyramids. Sonar images are not enough to go on, as they can be deceiving. So far, no one has laid eyes on these formations. They're at a depth of over 2,000 feet. A marine geologist calculated that it would have taken over 50,000 years for them to have sunk that far down. The Bimini Road. Located in the Bahamas, the Bimini Road, as it's called, is a half-mile-long collection of limestone blocks exhibiting linear features. Yes, I admit this is just supposed to be a road and not an entire city, so why am I talking about it? But a road suggests possible urbanism. However, after extensive research into the beach rock and sediment, geologists have concluded that the site is a natural formation, very similar to many others in the region. This hasn't stopped claims that the road was man-made, including in Graham Hancock's Ancient Apocalypse, which pushes the narrative that the structure was made by humans on the grounds that it looks like it. I'll be doing a full discussion of the Bimini Road in a forthcoming video, so stay tuned. Gebel Golbahar. Located off the coast of St. Julian's, Malta, Gebel Golbahar is a collection of stones named by Hubert Zeitelmeier, the self-proclaimed discoverer of the site. He believes the structures are man-made and associates them with Atlantis. He states that he had been guided to the site by his primeval ancestors, the god Patha Idana, Asu Ara Tzida, and the goddess Ashtatara, queen of Atlantis, whom he says he met on Malta. The identity of the stones as the remains of a megalithic temple have not been verified or dated by any science or archaeology of which I am aware. The earliest known settlements on the island postdate the last ice age by thousands of years. Setu. The Setu Bridge, or Adams Bridge, is a shallow water coral formation in the Bay of Bengal, off the coast of Ramaswaram. Mind you, this is not purported to be an entire city, but it gets mentioned a lot as evidence of civilization thousands of years ago. It is described in the Indian epic the Ramayana as a magic bridge that Lord Ram and his army built from mainland India to Sri Lanka. But was it really made by people? Geology has the answer. Sea level oscillation seems to have played the biggest role in Setu's history, as it often exposed the seabed between Sri Lanka and India, which allowed coral to grow higher and higher during each oscillation, using the newly submerged platforms as a building ground. There is an argument to be made that sea platforms like Setu were used by different generations of humans migrating to cross oceans, but the claim that the platform was man-made is untenable and does not comport with the science and geodynamics that explain the bridge's formation. For a full discussion, I will leave a link to a video on the subject below this video. The Yonaguni Monument. A small Japanese island near Taiwan has enormous rock structures located off its coast, starting at 3 feet below the surface and extending to around 75 feet into the ocean. Archaeologists have found the remains of small campsites, stone tools, and thick brown pottery on the main part of the island behind sand dunes. There are many claims about the Yonaguni formation and its human construction, including that the bedrock structure is a pyramid, that it has steps, tool marks, and monuments. The structures are carved into the bedrock instead of built out of separate blocks. This one's a little different because there is an actual geologist, Masaki Kimura, who has drawn these conclusions, not just an Atlantis enthusiast. Even he, however, says some of the structure was created naturally. The best evidence for the formation being natural is that much of the coastline above sea level looks like that which exists below. The same layering of sandstone and shale, as well as the same chemical and physical erosion of rock in between, exists above and below sea level. It is not impossible that there are stone ground areas on top of the structures that were bedrock mortar holes, but even this has not been conclusive. Until further research is done there, we cannot know. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or a super thanks. And if you appreciate what this channel is doing and you want to help keep it going, consider becoming a patron over at patreon.com/World of Antiquity.
You might like my little e-booklet, Why Ancient History Matters. It's designed to persuade people that the subject is important, even in the modern world. You might also wish to use it to help spread the word, so feel free to share it with someone you know. It's free for anyone who wants it. I've left a link in the description box below the video for you to grab a copy. Catch you later.